Hey, everybody. Good evening. You are in for a treat tonight. My name is Melody McAllister, and I have an amazing leader, a joyful leader with me tonight. I've been following her on Twitter for at least 5 years, maybe a little bit longer now, Miss Bethany Hill. And actually, I'm going to let her talk about her background, but it's so cool because this is the first time that I've gotten to speak with her live. So this is just a wonderful moment for myself, too. So, Miss Bethany, can you tell us where you're coming in, just the background, just all about you?
Absolutely. And thank you for having me. I'm so thrilled
Yes.
about this. I actually am located in Central Arkansas, and I grew up here, lived here my whole life. And I came back to my hometown to teach once I went to college. And so that's been great because I've been able to be close to home and family. And I've started my career in the same district I graduated from. Wow. And so I've been a teacher, of course, taught like kindergarten, first, second, third grades. I've been an instructional coach. I was an assistant principal, then a principal. Now I'm an assistant principal again because of just other projects going on. I actually stepped away from the principal role a couple of years ago. And so I'm currently assistant principal in a P4 building, Magnus Creek Elementary. It's in the Cabot School District. Right outside of Little Rock. So that's where I'm settled right now and loving it. It's definitely the most surreal year of education I've ever experienced in 23 years, but I'm learning different things every day. So I have two boys. One's a senior this year, so I'll be empty nesting next year, and then I have a son who has just kicked off his teaching career and coaching in a neighboring district or in another district in Arkansas. So that's kind of where I am right now.
Yeah. So much to be proud of. And I know that your community must be very proud of you, especially to go and come back. That is great. And I just want to remind anybody out there. So I pulled it up on my phone. If you're on my personal Facebook page, I can see your questions now, but feel free to drop in comments, say hello, and any questions that you have for Bethany, we would love to talk about that. And so Bethany, one of the reasons that I was really drawn to you was the hashtag Joyful Leaders. And I remember just seeing your posts in the morning before I would go to school, and I would just be very inspired by them. So I'm just wondering, what is the story about Joyful Leaders?
Well, it's kind of funny because it started out. I do a lot of writing and just jotting, and I'm kind of old school and have journals instead of writing and instead of typing things. I love to just handwrite, and so I was sitting in a training one day, and I was doodling, and because that's how I think, and I just wrote it out, and it kind of sat there for a while, for a few months in my journal, and then I thought, this could be like my thing, my personal, kind of brand. Anytime I tweet, I can push it out or whatever. So I kind of started playing around with it. Well, then other people just started using it, kind of naturally. And I thought, so I wrote a blog post about it, pushed it out. That was in 2018, I think, and right before Christmas. And so I pushed it out just to sort of explain, my thinking behind it. And mainly it's just, a lot of times public education gets, negative attention more than positive. And especially in the administrator role, we're sort of stereotyped to be that, the punisher, the bearer of bad news. No one wants to get a phone call from the principal. The first thing a parent says is, "Oh no, what's wrong?" And
Right.
So I was really trying to step into a new insight on the principal role, or just the administrator role, period. So that's another reason for Joyful Leaders, because that, if you exude that, that positivity and just find joy in those little things every day, whether it's watching a child tie another child's shoes and just, that little simple act of kindness, or getting a hug and a high five in the mornings, anything like that, it can bring some light into a stressful day. But we have to be looking for it, and we have to be open to, to experiencing those things and to noticing when we see it in other people. So that was sort of the premise, for the whole hashtag, and just for people to put in celebrations, and it's become more than just, sharing celebrations. It's, people share articles and they share, videos and all kinds of different things, but it's full of encouragement on a daily basis. And so I just love, it just makes me so happy to scroll through every evening when I get home and just see the post, that people have made. It's just very heartwarming. So it's been a great journey so far.
Yeah, I love that. I mean, I love that you're being intentional, especially in the midst of right now. What you're talking about is a very challenging time, probably the most challenging that we've ever faced at this point, but still finding joy. And I always want to give a shout out to my friend, Dr. Joy. She always says, or she said this last week, that, finding joy right now is super brave. It's like, but you have to be intentional about it. You have to look for it. And so can anybody join on this hashtag? Like, or do you have a few people that are in it for sure with you, or what's that like?
Well, there are several that are almost like daily posters, that have just they've always kind of been there, and that's fantastic. But I see a few new people, every week, and I'm like, and I always, of course, I always follow anyone who, posts with the hashtag, and so it's really cool to see, that people are connecting that way, through that hashtag too. It's not a hashtag that's going to trend or be, huge that way, but a lot of educators look to it for just for connection, or for culture ideas, encouragement, and that kind of thing. So, and it's not meant for, there's toxic positivity, and that can be
right.
a horrible thing. So it's still, real, and it doesn't mean that we have to, be on our game 100% full of sunshine every moment. But it's even working through those hard moments where we can't seem to find the light, at the end of the tunnel. And we're all going to be that way sometimes. And sometimes it's me, sometimes it's someone else, that needs lifting up. So that the hashtag has become sort of, a place that a lot of people go just to get a pick-me-up, in a way. So,
and it's funny that you said that, because I was actually going to say that even though it is Joyful Leaders, you're not a person that is toxic positivity. Like, you are able to get real. You are able to address everything that is going on. I see that personally. You're not afraid to address that. So I love that you said that, because I forgot to write it down, but that's exactly what I think about when I do think about your leadership. And Rochelle says hello. Hey, Rochelle, thank you for joining in.
Oh, I just adore her. She's amazing, by the way.
She is. And anybody else who's, I'm sorry.
I was just going to say, I've just been honored enough to meet her in person and watch her present. And it was amazing. She's kind of an edgy hero for me.
She is. Me too. And she really is a good supporter of all of us. So thanks, Rochelle. Mm-hmm. And anybody else who's, drop in, say hello, tell us that you're watching. This is so cool. But yeah, no, I'm glad you talked about toxic positivity, because that is something that, like, we've kind of come full circle on, because there has been a lot of it. So
yes,
we've got to address that too.
Yeah.
But as an administrator, so we've talked about some challenges, and we all know that we're in the midst of a pandemic. What are some, and we talked about right before we went on, like, there's a million, challenges happening that we're all facing, whether we're in the education system or not. But what are the things really weighing on your mind as an administrator, as a mom, what are the things that you're thinking about and dealing with?
Of course, in the spring, when all of this first started to unfold, and most schools were beginning to shut down by late March, early April. My biggest concern at that moment was families, because it just one day we were at school, and the next day we weren't. Mm-hmm. and then we thought we would go back, and we never did. But we ended up just having to try to stay connected with kids from our homes. And so the biggest concern then was just, how do we support families? We know that there are such extenuating circumstances. Some families were fine, and then 6 weeks later they were not fine, because a family member was laid off, or somebody was sick or whatever. And so just trying to figure out what those needs are and to make sure that everyone is emotionally and physically okay. So it wasn't really necessarily about teaching as much, during that time. But although our teachers tried, they tried everything they could to keep kids from losing content and, just to keep them going and stay connected. But what I've seen since school has started is the burden that lies on our teachers is just something I've never seen before. Because we have teachers who have kids in front of them, and they're accountable for those kids, and they see those faces every minute of the school day. But then they also have kids at home, and it's almost like a separate classroom, and they're having to teach virtually as well, and find time to Google Meet or Zoom, whatever with those kids. To make sure they're getting good instruction, to make sure that they're doing assessments and they're checking for understanding, and that they're helping parents with technology, just all of those different things. And then we have kids that, may have to go home because they were a close contact, to a person who was positive. And so they're home for a short amount of time. So we have to keep those kids going, too. And, teachers trying to balance all that right now is just so much. And I've never seen so many tears this year, not just at my school, but, all over, teacher friends, people that I talk with, even outside of my school and outside of my district and even outside of my state, it's across the country. It's a nationwide struggle right now. And, and some people aren't back on site yet. So I know some districts are still they're teaching remotely, and that's still stressful too, but I've really my heart has been so broken because I've not been able to figure out exactly how to truly solve the problem, of just needing to be, they need more time. They need to clone themselves. They need they just, it feels such an impossible task because teachers are they are their worst critic, and so they always they want to give everything that they have to their kids. And so when they have situations that are so different, when a teacher feels like they can't be truly effective for every situation for every kid, it's so damaging for them, and it's almost like trauma in a way, because they feel guilty, even though they know deep down it's not their fault, but they take that personally, and it's tough, I've never seen teachers so stressed, so the little things can make the biggest difference at this time, whether it's chocolate or a sticky note or, let me cover your class, whatever, so you can, go breathe for a minute or at least go plan or whatever, trying to figure out those little things that we can do for teachers, especially the teachers who are doing both on-site and virtual, because it's a tough balance, and I see them doing it, and I think they're doing a fabulous job, but I know that if they don't feel it, that's what matters, they need to feel it. And so we can tell them all we want, but if they feel so torn, or pulled between both classes, then that's just hard. So that's heavy on my heart, and I know it is for every administrator out there, because we can't really fix that right now. It kind of is what it is, and we're in the midst of a pandemic, and we just have to make the best of it and give the best that we can without sacrificing ourselves.
I know, right? I have some comments coming in. I'm sorry, I was so engrossed in what you were saying. Oh, Rochelle says she adores us both. We love you, Rochelle. Thank you. And then Andrea says, we appreciate your work. Thank you for acknowledging the trauma. Yes. I do love that. Bethany, you are not afraid to just say it like it is. And, but you do it in a way that's not threatening or making other people feel, defensive. And for everybody like Andrea and Rochelle and all the teachers who are watching, thank you for everything you're doing. It seems impossible. It seems like an impossible task. And I'm not doing it right now. So kudos to everybody who is doing all of that, who's doing the hybrid situation. It's not a romantic situation at all. And we think you're amazing. So Bethany, what are you doing right now to take care of you? Like, I know that you're trying to take care of everybody else and you're a mom on top of being an administrator, but what are you doing to make sure that you're okay?
I've had a few goals that I've not met yet because I have to leave. I have to make myself leave work a little earlier, but I'm hoping to get there. But the main thing is I find so much joy in recognizing efforts in other people, and I can't. It's hard to explain, but if I can find a moment when I see just something magical, whether it's a teacher that's doing something or another staff member, maybe it's a kid, it could be a family member. I think just celebrating those little things right now, that's what helps my heart. and I have to celebrate little things for myself too. I mean, it may be, eating ice cream in bed. That may be my way of taking care of myself, which I've not really ever done before this year, but I have done that a couple of nights. Or even just getting in bed by 7 o'clock. I'm so dead tired. I don't.
Oh my gosh, I know. And I'm keeping you up. And I can see that you're tired. You still look gorgeous, but I can tell that you are definitely a little bit on the tired. And Elizabeth Bostwick. I'm sorry. Elizabeth Bostwick says Bethany has such great advice for educators. That's on. I can't pull it up. Yes.
I love Liz. She's amazing too.
She is. I'll have to have her on too. A lot of people I need to spotlight them. I can't do a lot for everybody, but I can spotlight these amazing people that are in my life. And you kind of already answered. Well, and I wanted to say you've never eaten, ice cream in bed before. Listen, I didn't care about Netflix before this pandemic. I could have cared less about Netflix.
Same.
We didn't have a TV in our bedroom. Like, we've been married for 14 years and we just 2 months ago put a television. People have been bugging us because we have 5 kids to put a television into our room. We finally just did it because, we watch a lot more TV lately and it is what it is.
Yeah. That's right. Yeah. We all get way too much screen time, but if it can be some fun screen time, then,
heck yes.
If it binge watching does it, then go for it,
Do you have a series that you've binge watched that you want to recommend?
Actually, I have not been into the series up until the last, March, when we were stuck at home. And my husband happened to be off for a couple of weeks around that time. It was our spring break, and we ended up being home for about, I don't know, it was about 14 or 15 days together. And we got hooked on, watching movies, old movies, watching different TV shows and everything. But I haven't gotten into the brand new ones, but I did discover The Blacklist.
Okay.
And I love that show. And so we ended up binge watching it throughout, those spring months. And so we've been just dying for the next season to come out because it's last season. So it just came out. So we just started watching it again. And that's kind of mine and my husband's thing. And it's usually on Saturday nights because, he works an opposite schedule than I do. So we have usually just Saturday night is the main, or Saturday and Saturday night is the main time that we get just to be, have downtime and be in the same room together.
Yeah.
I find myself staying up till 1 or 2 o'clock in the morning with him. And I'm like, I have to go to bed.
Yeah.
But so
a Facebook user says, "Keep up the good work." I'm sorry. I love it when it says Facebook.
Anonymous.
And it's just because of the way that StreamYard works. And you kind of segued into this naturally. But one thing I also love about you is that you're able to form community. And I feel like I'm a part of your community, even though tonight is the first time I've got to meet you. And I'm just going to say, like, in real life, this to me is real life. I don't care what anybody else says. But what are the things that you do? And you already have talked about it. Like, you've talked about supporting families, supporting your teachers, finding little things to celebrate, especially when things get super hard. What are some other things that you have done over the years that you feel like makes a strong community?
Well, in the past, being a principal, teachers don't get time to visit each other's classrooms that much, and usually if they do, it's maybe something that's assigned to them, like,
right.
go observe another teacher, write a reflection, that kind of thing. And so at the school that I was at formerly, we started the Observe Me movement, and Robert Kaplinski kind of, coined that hashtag, and I read a lot about it, and it is such a cool way to increase the transparency in a building, but then also to appreciate colleagues, because we sometimes don't get past our own team. I mean, when I was a teacher, it was my team. Every day we ate lunch together, and sometimes you don't even see another grade level for you go a couple of days and not even see them, and it's hard to get everyone together all at once. So it's just a really neat way for people to showcase something that they're great at, or to put themselves out there and say, I'm kind of learning how to do this thing. Can you come give me feedback? So that was such a cool way to build trust and to just appreciate the strengths of other teachers too. And so I really loved that. Even though it was very uncomfortable at the beginning, we had to kind of talk about it a lot, and then we had to make it, it was an option. And then we kind of said, this is going to be how we do things, And so I really loved that, and would recommend it. It takes time. It's not something you can just say, hey, we're going to do this. Everybody keep your doors open, and somebody, that's overwhelming. So it has to be, something that has to be talked about a lot, and creating some norms and things like that. But I do love that so much. And then of course, social media is just, to me, one of the greatest ways to connect with, with people outside of our school, because we want people to know what we're about, and we need to brand our school and tell our story. And so Facebook and Instagram and Twitter, even, I've seen a lot of principals even using Snapchat, and I think it's so cool. I never did that as a administrator, but it could be very effective too. Depending on where your audience is, right? And so, but Facebook is really powerful. The Facebook pages, Facebook Live, going live during family events and things like that. And so, and especially now when we can't have visitors in our building, really, we have a policy, and most districts probably do now, where we don't really let very many people in. Right. So we can't have huge family nights and things like that. So if we can share out what kids are doing, and that they're still having fun at school, they're still enjoying themselves, they're playing outside like kids, they may have a mask on, but they're not letting that stop them, and so it's a comfort to parents to see that their kids are happy at school, and that the teachers are doing everything they can to try to keep kids safe, but then also keep school as normal as possible. So being transparent like that and kind of tear down the walls is important too. It makes people feel more involved.
Yeah, I really like what you're saying, and I wholeheartedly agree with you. And I could see you in your Facebook community, like for your school, like going live with this. And let me tell you, if you need any help with StreamYard, I am your girl. I can help you.
I've not done it. I've not seen it until tonight.
So. Oh, it's so easy to navigate, and it's such a fun way to interact with people. And I mean, it would be very successful. Like, I know that I would love to see my my kids' teachers or my kids' principals, and just being able to talk. I could see this being a really good community builder in this time. And we have, Oh, Barbara says, "Hey, Bethany, Melody. Hey, Barbara."
I love her too. She's amazing.
She's definitely has to be part of your Joyful Leaders, Barbara.
Oh yeah, she contributes quite a bit, and I have learned so much from her. over the years. I've followed her for quite a few years too.
Yeah. Thank you, Barbara, for tuning in, and everybody. And we're not going to be on for too much longer, but if you have any questions or if you have any comments, please, if you're coming in from Facebook or Twitter or YouTube, wherever you're coming in, please let us know you're watching. We love to hear from you. And so we are getting closer to our time, but how can we follow you? I know I've put on the bottom of the ticker that you are at Beth Hill 2829 on Twitter. Is that your Instagram also?
I have my Instagram is actually JoyfulLeaders.
Okay.
I have that, and then I have another Instagram that's Bethany Hill 1, and
Okay.
I post a lot of family things on there, but a lot of school things too. That's where my life kind of blends together. But Joyful Leaders is more of just an inspirational place for quotes, images, things like that. And then I have a Facebook page, Inspiration for Educators. I'm on LinkedIn, I love to connect there. And I have a blog, I have a website, BethanySHill.com too, that
I can put that in the comments.
Yeah, I have a blog there that I haven't contributed to in a while.
Did you say
back to that?
Did you say Bethany S?
Yes.
BethanySHill.com. Okay, I'm going to drop this in the comments. I'm going to check that out. So cool. So let's see. I'm going to post that. So check out her blog, Bethany S. Hill. I hope that you when you get a moment right now, you are probably just in a frenzy. So totally understandable why you're not, able to blog right now, all the other stuff that you're doing, for crying out loud. But I'm sure that if you visit BethanySHill.com, you're going to find some inspiration, even if it's from the past. Elizabeth says, you two are fantastic. Thank you, Liz. I love it that I see so many wonderful people watching. Thank you all for tuning in. This is great. And so you're everywhere. You're on all the social medias. If you are not sure, and I'm going to put so let's hear. And so you actually are a speaker and a consultant too. Like you do.
Yes, I've just in the last year and a half have sort of ventured into that. That was one of the reasons I stepped back out of the principal role and into an assistant principal. I have a few more weeks in the summer that I can do things as an assistant principal, and principals work year round, in my district.
Yes.
So that kind of freed up some time, and honestly, just some balance, in my world. I was really, kind of at a point where I needed to make a change. And so it was a good change, and
good.
I love where I am right now. But then I also have some breathing room to do some other things. So I'm connected with Pushbound Consulting. I just joined with them. So as a Joyful Leadership Ambassador. And so I look forward to working and collaborating with them. And then I've done just a few things on my own, just me. And so just some speaking engagements, did a couple of things virtually this summer, that I had originally booked, but they had to be through Zoom. And I've booked a couple of keynotes for next summer at conferences. And so I'm just kind of, getting my feet wet in that world.
That is great.
But I enjoy it. I enjoy it a lot. And it's a good balance. I'm not ready to separate from a school yet. I love that too much and love to do with kids and teachers. And so this is kind of a good way to have my cake and eat it too now.
I would love to sit in your keynote. I think it would be amazing to learn from you. I mean, I do learn from you, just not in a keynote, but I learn from you all the time. And before we go, what is just something that you have on your heart? I know I didn't prep you for this, and I'm truly sorry because I'm putting you on the spot. But okay. What would you like to say to the educators or even the parents or kids that are watching? What is just one thing that's on your heart all the time that you just want to impart?
Right now, I think it's to just allow grace, extend it, receive it, and just avoid assumptions and judgments right now, because people are in various situations and emotions are high. Not just within us, but without, just in our country, there's social unrest, and there's, a lot of stress with the pandemic. It's changed our economy. It's affected our schools in such a big way. And I think that sometimes people just need a little patience, more than normal. And so I try to remind myself of that, even though I forget sometimes, and I get frustrated with myself or with other people, just who are in their emotional state. And I think we just have to be patient with that and look beyond it, because that's what we do with our kids in our classrooms.
Yes.
We try to see their behavior is telling us what, something that either they need something, they're lacking something, or they are just needing to feel like they're in control of something, because right now, it's hard to feel like we're in control. It feels like a lot of things are just being, thrown at us, instead of us being able to have everything balanced. And teachers are people who really like to have their ducks in a row. And they want to be planned out. They want to be, ready for anything that comes at them, and right now that's just really hard. And so I think extending grace to people and being intentional about checking in on others, maybe more so than we normally would, and maybe people that we don't normally connect with on a daily basis.
I love that. That is great. I'm not going to say any more because that was wonderful and totally right on. And I just want to thank everybody. Oh, Kristen Nan says, 2 of my favorite people, Joyful Leaders.
Oh, yeah. I love Kristen. I love her.
And we were going to be on with her last week, but so if you're a Kristen Nan fan, we're going to do this too with her very soon. But Bethany, thank you so much for joining me tonight. Like, this has been a really special moment for me. And thank you to everybody who's been watching, whether it's on Facebook or Twitter, or YouTube. Just thank you so much. And maybe you're watching after we go live. This is a great conversation that I hope a lot of people will tune into. Your leadership is very valuable. It has touched me and blessed me for several years now. So I thank you just personally also. And then for taking the time, because you should be in bed eating ice cream right now. You deserve it.
A little later tonight.
You deserve it. And everybody have a great night. And like Bethany said, let's extend the grace. Let's try not to put so many assumptions on everyone. And we'll see you again next time. Good night.